So that same time as I was walking around, I made it to the art shop in Saba Yaakov. Now, just like when I went down to the MOI back in 1988, Saba Yaakov, this is 1992, Saba Yaakov is working on a project. I walk in and he's sitting down at his easel with the big artwork, working on stuff. I introduced myself and I said, hey, I do this kind of work. It's incredible. He got up, he said, I need you to help me out with this banner. So, the banner, all of those big murals that we used to see on the stage for New World.
Right.
That started with Saba Yaakov. And I started drawing and painting, and it was, boom, immediate. So every day once I woke up, I made a beeline. They served me breakfast at the guest house, but I made a beeline to the art shop every day. Once Saba Yaakov moved to Tiberias, all of that
became your responsibility.
And it was an absolute incredible string of years that went on.
Who is Atur Elzariz?
Right. Kuma Yehovah, Yaputsu, Vyanu Su Missenech, Ipanech. Kuma Yehovah, Yaputsu, Vyanu Su Missenech, Ipanech. Kuma Yehovah, Yaputsu, Vyanu Su Missenech, Ipanech. Nehalelio, 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 Yochai, Yochai, Yochai. Selah.
Selah. I think we're covered.
Hallelujah. Let's see, who is this? All righty.
Shalom, shalom, and welcome to today's episode of Living Chronicles. Hallelujah. I am thrilled to have here with me today Atur
Elzariz. Hallelujah.
And I don't know if I should say this on camera or not. Y'all, we recorded half of this and then lost it, and so we're starting over. He's such a good sport. I'm upset. So anyway, Atur, please tell us the meaning of your name.
My name is Elzariz. As the name was given to me, that means Yah is adroit, dexterous, skillful,
And quick.
And quick.
Who gave you your name?
Nasi Aharon it was Elamad Hakohen gave me my name, but Elamad and Nasi Aharon.
Okay.
Back in D.C. When I first started coming around.
Okay. All right. And he came to us from the Washington, D.C. jurisdiction. He came to Israel in 1992 at the age of 36. He's currently 68. He has 3 children and 11 grandchildren. And his bio reads as follows. Artwork, and he's going to tell us all about his artwork.
Yep.
Tonal scientist, that's the man of valor Shmael's definition of a musician. He, as an artist, he primarily plays the guitar and the bass guitar, and he's going to share some of those adventures. He is a family man, devoted husband and father. He deals with vegan food preparation at Tevadeli.
The ministry of Tevadeli.
The ministry of Tevadeli all these years.
Hallelujah.
He also, for the Crown Brothers, does typing, editing, and minutes, taking and proofreading skills. He's an all-around handyman. He's a mechanic. He knows how to do everything. And we whispered it before. We're whispering again. Sorry, Sadoki, don't hear us, okay? And lastly, his alter ego is that of a social media comedian, and I call him the King of Corn. And those of us that interact with him on Facebook, that is our affectionate name for him.
Okay.
Again, welcome to Living Chronicles and take 2.
Toda for the invite. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Again, here we are.
Here we are. So let's do this again. He's going to begin by telling us, as all of our guests do, their story of how they came into the kingdom, and floor is all yours.
Alrighty. I was born in Washington, D.C., 1956. A small family, father, mother, 1 younger brother. Grew up in Northeast Washington, D.C. And as far back as I can remember, my father was always interested in all of the revolutionary and freedom fighters and the different things that were taking place during the planet at that particular time. He was an avid, what we would call a weekend revolutionary. Again, during the week, he worked for the U.S. government. During the week, he was suit and tie. But on the weekend, he was army fatigues. And this is early 60s. He had army fatigues, a cut-off T-shirt, Charles de Gaulle hat with some boots, Brogans. And that was his weekend wear. He washed the car, do yard work. That was what he wore on the weekend. He was an avid listener for shortwave radio, London, Hong Kong, India, different stations coming out of Africa, out of Europe, Alaska.
So he was dealing with what do you call geopolitics?
Yes.
All the way back then.
Exactly. Oftentimes he would come home with Muhammad Speaks newspaper. He would come home with the fish wrapped up in the paper, that he would purchase from the brothers.
Right, at the
fish market. The Nation of Islam.
Right.
He frequented them. He was close with them. And he was just in tune with all of the different things that were taking place in the world at that time in terms of revolutions and uprisings and things like that. My first remembrance going back was the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs, the invasion of Cuba, the failed invasion of Cuba. Now, naturally, my father was on the side of Fidel Castro, and he's always told me why he took those stances, why he felt the way he felt, and this and that and that and this. So that instilled a revolutionary spirit in me from a young, 6, 7 years of age, 8, 9 years old. Okay, moving up, early 60s, like I said, Cuban Missile Crisis. There were also several African nations that were gaining their independence from the colonial powers at that particular time. I remember my father telling us when the first military advisors started to be sent into Vietnam. This is before the war started.
Way before the war.
But military advisors were sent into Vietnam, and how that war started, because some of the military advisors lost their lives. So they had to send more in, and then it just escalated and turned into something else. Those were the Johnson years. The JFK assassination and all that stuff going on at that particular time. There was a lot happening. Moving on into the mid-'60s, you had the Civil Rights Movement, all of that, Martin Luther King and the marches and all that. And my father had that newspaper, had that Walter Cronkite on the TV every night, and he would, it was just always something jumping.
It's always something.
And he would explain to my younger brother and myself what was taking place on this planet. He would explain it,
I don't know if you realize the blessing that was.
Yeah.
Because my parents were totally different. So even though all of that was going on in our midst, I was oblivious to most of it.
Right.
But that was truly a blessing.
It was truly a blessing. And again, I really appreciate the effort that my father took, to be in tune with all of that. As the 60s rolled on, in addition to that, again, where we lived in Northeast, we lived on Eastern Avenue, right across from Seat Pleasant, and that's Maryland. There was a little joint directly across the street called Melvin's Crab House. And they had a speaker outside. They would play soul music all day, all night until 11. And that's where that's when I first heard those sounds, soul music, R&B, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, the Motown sound, James Brown, Smokey Robinson,
Temptations,
all of that.
All of that. Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield.
And they would play this stuff all day long, particularly over the summer. The summer they would go until 12 at night. And it was loud. And I really, really, really appreciated the music of that era.
Yeah. That was music.
Yes. And that was the soundtrack of my youth.
Right.
And hallelujah. I was just immersed in it.
Right.
Oh, it was just incredible. Now, so you had the music, which was going through transitions at that time.
Right.
Because again, early 60s, it was, oh baby, I love you. Right. And then by time that, it was like, say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud.
Yes.
Within a short frame of years.
If you had a choice of colors,
right?
Which one would you choose, my brother?
Exactly.
If there was no black or white, what would you prefer to be right?
Yes,
oh,
indeed.
man, the lyrics back then, I can't tell you the words to a song today, but I can sing all of those songs from my youth.
Ball of Confusion.
Oh,
that's what the world is today. Hey, hey. And the band played on.
Yep.
Everyday people. Sly Family Stone. Don't call me nigga. Anyway, all of that.
Yes.
It was James Brown. I'm black and I'm proud.
And I'm proud. Yes. The big afros. Yes.
Now, here's where the problem came. I was into all of that, but I was just too young.
Right.
I was like 4 and 5 years, 6 years younger than those who were actually out in the street doing all of that.
Right.
I wanted to be out there with all of that.
Right.
I wanted to be out there with the picket signs. I wanted to be out there with my fist in the air. I wanted to be out there throwing bricks at the cops and all that kind of stuff.
And your Abba couldn't do it because he had to maintain that.
The spook was sat by the door.
Yes, exactly.
So he couldn't do it.
And so he couldn't take you.
Right. Oh, but let me go back. I got something. The March on Washington, 1963.
Okay.
Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. No, Martin Luther King's, that first speech in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
I was 7 years of age. My father took me there.
Wow.
I was
on his shoulders.
1963, the March on Washington. My father took me to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't have much of a remember. All I remember is there was a bunch of people, and I had to use the bathroom. but my father took me downtown to that iconic speech, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. Just a sea of people, just as far as the eye can see.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, so we're going to move up to the mid to late 60s. You know, the revolution, the Black Power thing, the Black Panther thing, all that was going on. I was too young to participate.
Right.
But because my father instilled that spirit in me, it was there.
Right.
It was burning.
Yes.
It was burning. I had to have an outlet.
Right.
One of the outlets was music. Again, because of all of that sound that was going on. Fortunately for me, my mother was a member of a record club. Mm-hmm. You pay your $5.99 and you get 10 albums delivered to your door in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
And she was not musically segregated, which, you know, some black folk only listen to black music.
Right. She listened to whatever.
Everything. Mamas and the Papas, the Beatles, Vanilla Fudge, whatever, Led Zeppelin. She listened to everything. And that gave me another side of music, another appreciation.
Another exposure.
Mm-hmm. So again, I was exposed to everything. Even country music.
I was going to ask you country,
because Charlie Pride was kind of he was
mm-hmm.
you know, he was on the scene back then.
How about classical music?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. My father kind of listened to it just a bit. I didn't like it like that, so
mm-hmm.
I didn't really get into the Bach and the Beethoven kind of stuff. It just didn't resonate here. But when it came to soul music, when it came to R&B, the soundtrack of my youth, and then again I got exposed to rock music. Mm-hmm. At that, you know, as the 60s moved on, I got exposed to rock. I remember the Beatles appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show. That was a big thing.
That was a big.
And you know, it's kind of odd that a black family would be watching four guys from Liverpool, but that's how big they were.
That's how big they were.
That's the impact,
and that's how big Ed Sullivan was.
Right, Ed Sullivan.
He had
show.
Everybody on his show.
Exactly. Oh, as the 60s moved on, we're talking 68, 69. My influences, my main musical influences at that time were James Brown,
mm-hmm.
Sly and the Family Stone, the Beatles, and Jimi Hendrix. Mm-hmm. To a lesser degree, Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions.
I love Curtis.
Man, Curtis Mayfield today is in my top 5.
I love Curtis Mayfield. His music was so, oh man, his lyrics were so powerful, and all of that music is still relevant to this very day. Nothing has changed, unfortunately. It's only got worse. Now, in terms of love songs, Smokey Robinson was a writer all day long.
But in terms of revolutionary songs, Curtis Mayfield.
Right. Smokey had that locked up.
He locked it. But Curtis Mayfield had that thing going on over here.
In fact, they had a radio program based on one of his songs, Quiet Storm. Quiet Storm was a theme song to that radio
That was the WHUR. That was Smokey Robinson. Quiet Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes, that's what made me move. Part of what made me move to DC.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'll tell you about that later.
Yeah, Smokey had that. He had that
he
wrapped
had that
up.
on lock.
All right, now we're in the late 60s, going into the early 70s. I still have that burning desire to be out there with the older revolutionaries, but again, I'm still too young. I'm like, what, 13, 14, 15. I ain't got no business being out there. But again, it's in me. It's in here. 1973, my good buddy Michael Howard in D.C. introduced me to some of the strangest music I had ever heard.
Okay.
I never heard of it before. He introduced it. Man, you got to listen to this, man. You got to hear this. It was Bob Marley and the Wailers.
Ah.
I had never heard of reggae.
Wow.
He dropped that reggae on me.
You know.
And because it spoke to that,
Yeah.
you know.
It was the Caribbean version of what we were hearing from the revolutionary Motown.
Exactly. Because, we had the Last Poets. And
Gil
Scott. All
That was the last concert I saw for FCC.
But that when I got exposed to Bob Marley, that took it up a notch.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about burning and looting.
Yeah. I shot
the sheriff, ambush in the night, and rat race, and oh man,
Yeah. He wasn't playing at all.
And he looked the part.
Yeah, he did.
He looked the part, man. He had that. He didn't have the dreadlocks back then. He had the nappy fro.
Right.
But he's talking about roots, rock, reggae. This is reggae music, bubbling on the top 100.
Yeah.
Just like the Mighty Dread, man. That solidified. That let me know I was at least listening to what I needed to be listening to.
Right.
Okay, moving on through the 70s. I'm in school, junior high school. Graduated in 1974 out of high school, and I immediately went to university. I majored in graphic arts and design. Did very well.
Okay.
I was near the top of my class. I was real good, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a graphic artist, and that's what I became. Graduated in 77. In the 5th month of 1977, I put in resumes and applications. I went on an interview with a graphics firm in the 8th month of 1977. It was a Yom Shishi, a Friday. I was 20 years old. Over that weekend, I turned 21. That Yom Shani on Monday.
That Monday.
I started working. And I was 21 years old, straight out of school. And, played around during that summer.
Right.
Got serious. And I was a graphic artist in the graphics firm. I've always been working at some type of graphics. Always.
Okay.
From the time I graduated up until I came into the kingdom, I was always working something related to art, something related to graphics. At that particular time, now we're talking late 70s, all through the 80s. I just saw, the conditions of our people.
Right.
And because of that spirit, I'm like, it's got to be something else. It's got to be something else.
Got to be a solution. This can't be the end all be all for us.
Yeah, and there was so much taking place. I mean, there was a lot going on at that particular time, just like today.
Right.
A lot going on. So my soul was always looking, always searching, always yearning for something different. Personally, I was doing okay. I was making good money. I was employed.
But that's not fulfilling. I mean, it takes care of what needs to be taken, but there's something else that we need.
Right. So I would be doing graphics during the week, and then on the weekends, my brother and I would be doing tearing down engines, and Volkswagens, and doing that type of thing. He still does that to this day. One day I'm at work, Springfield, Virginia, which is on the other side of Washington, D.C., it's out in Virginia somewhere. It's quite a distance from where I lived. I'm working at a graphics firm, and I had my headphones in. No Bluetooth at that time.
Right.
Just
No
little AM,
Bluetooth.
FM radio.
No Wi-Fi.
No, none
no
of that.
cell phones.
And I'm plugged in, and I'm listening to one of my favorite stations, PFW. It was one of those.
Revolutionary stations.
Exactly. They played jazz, reggae, Last Poets, Gil Scott, all of that, Gene Carn, Doug Carn, all that,
Right.
you know, a transformation, all that, you know. I love that station. So one morning I'm in there, I'm doing my graphic work, you know. Everybody's in their cubicle. You know, I'm in a cubicle and I'm doing my thing. Got my little ruler and I got my headphones in. And there was a brother who had a morning talk show called Small Talk. And in this particular morning, he had two guests. A brother by the name of Aharon and another brother by the name of Uriel. Mm-hmm. And they introduced themselves as Hebrew Israelites. And I knew that the host was a Hebrew Israelite because that was Elamad.
Elamad
HaKohen. But I didn't know that there was a whole community of Hebrew Israelites living in Israel.
Right.
Had no idea.
Right.
I knew that Elamad was a Hebrew Israelite, and I knew that, you know, he disappeared because, you know, he was in, you know, we were neighbors.
He was a priest at the time?
No.
When he came? Oh, so he hadn't gotten.
No.
Okay.
He just, you know, he came around years before I became a Hebrew. He
was coming
my
around
neighbor.
like in the 70s. I came home in 79. So yeah.
Yeah, he had a good 10 years ahead of me.
Right.
Good 9 or 10 years. But he's my neighbor.
Right. Okay.
You know, so I knew him. But he had these two brothers on that morning, and they spoke about the external solution. And they talked about a community of brothers and sisters that live in Israel, that have their own school system, birth their own children, their vegan diet, they make their own clothes, they have their own governing systems, and everything was,
right.
You know, and I'm listening, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what?
Yo, why ain't heard about all of this?
It was like, and again, it was like poof.
Yeah.
Why didn't I know about this earlier? Why didn't, you know?
Why am I just
finding out? Now again, when Elamad became a Hebrew Israelite, he didn't really talk to me about it.
Right.
He was in the neighborhood for years and years, and all of a sudden he disappeared. You know, and I wasn't ready at that particular time.
Right.
You know, but I was ready when I heard that radio program.
Right.
So that evening, no, let me go back. At the end of the radio program, they said that all concerned brothers meet at the Mas Amadressa between 13th Street and Georgia Avenue this Yom Kamashi, which is a Thursday out there, you know, 7:30, blah, 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 blah. So that particular day, three of us rushed over there. It was Baruch, Elamad's younger brother, Baruch, Yatziliel, who's now Sar in Kenya, and myself. We jumped in the car and just jumped over.
So you knew Yatziliel from the neighborhood as well?
Yeah, he was a friend of Baruch's, even though they went to school together or something like that.
Okay.
But again, these guys are 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
But because he's in the neighborhood, and you know, I'm close to Baruch's older brother.
Right.
You know,
we just ride.
Rode together, and so we ride up to the Mas Amadressa, and all kinds of brothers are in there. It was a brothers meeting. All kind of, we had brothers from the Sar Asset community, brothers from the Rasta community, brothers from this community, that community, da 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 da, the 12 nations and the blah 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 and the everybody. The Hebrew Israelite brother spoke last. That was Uriel and Navi. That message hit me like that. Again, everybody else was yakking. These brothers were talking about
something that had actually been established, and
Yes.
something that had actually been done.
And they say if you're not happy here, just leave. You know, the external solution. Again, I'm like, man, why didn't I think about this? I didn't. So I was intrigued. Okay, after the meeting, we all got up because we were sitting on the floor with our shoes off, that type of thing.
Oh, okay.
After the meeting, we got up, and on my way out, there were two Hebrew brothers, two young brothers, at the side door. One was by the name of Mikael, and the other was a brother named Adiv. And they were selling vegan sandwiches, battered tofu vegan sandwiches. I brought a vegan sandwich from Adiv and bit into that boy. I was through. I was sold. I said, whatever, I was finished. And you know, I tease Amatia. It's Amatia who I'm talking about.
Right.
Atur
Amatia and Koyamel.
I tease Amatia to this day because again, that sandwich, man, that was like the gateway. You know?
It wouldn't be fair for me to tease him when I see him.
Please do.
But I'm going to send him this.
Yeah. That, man, oh man, that opened up the door. Now, if that wasn't enough, they pointed us in the direction of the MOI, which was on Georgia Avenue, and they said that there is a sister there that is selling vegan meals. So the three of us, Baruch, Yatsiliel, and I, jumped over to Georgia Avenue. Baruch knew the way to go, so you know, we jumped over there. Got up in the Georgia Avenue house, which was a Nation house. I didn't know anything about Nation houses back then.
I lived in a Nation house in D.C.
Yeah. And there's a sister in there selling vegan meals. Her name is Kilkia. And we all know Kilkia.
Yeah.
And I bought a meal, and I remember the meal bidiyuk to this day. Candied yams, collard greens, mac and cheese, barbecue twist. What a combination.
Yeah.
That's the classic.
That's the classic get you in the nation.
That's the classic
combination.
Yes. Now I thought that battered tofu sandwich was the bomb. Whoo! After we finished that meal, it was like I was sold.
So
you know, the way through a man is his stomach.
That was the final, because the soul had already been fed. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, indeed. I was absolutely sold. So while we were there, it was suggested that we go down and meet the brothers in the basement. So we had to go through the Ketatizna to get down to the basement. So we get to the door at the top of the steps. And somebody downstairs says, Bo. Now, none of us know what Bo means.
Right.
So we just stood there. Bo. 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 Who's knocking? Come on down. Going downstairs. It's the MOI. It's the Ministry of Information. Downstairs was Skan Emmanuel, Skan Eliashuv, and the brother, the artist, Ben Kai.
Right.
And they were working on the Jerusalem Viewpoint publication at that time.
Remember those publications?
I came downstairs and I saw Ben Kai laying out the Jerusalem Viewpoint. Skan Emmanuel and Skan Eliashuv, they're making recordings, they're taking cassettes and transferring what's on that cassette to another cassette or VHS, and making.
So that was pre
kind of
DVDs.
All of that, everything was cassette,
Right.
And VHS. Those big.
I remember those big.
Right.
Yeah, I remember those.
So I get downstairs and I'm looking. I say, "Hey man, listen, I do that kind of work." He looked up at me and he got right up. He said, "Brother, take over." Yeah, just like that. So I sat down and got the little ruler and the copy that had to be pasted, and the little wax machine is over there, and I'm going like, okay. So, okay, this is none of that. So I, I assisted that very night. That very night.
You jumped in.
Jumped right on in. And I helped paste up. He had pasted most of it up.
Right.
But I helped, because he had other things to do, So I helped finish with that particular copy of the Jerusalem Viewpoint. And once they found out I was an artist, so can you draw such and such? Can you do such and such? So I did. It was incredible. It was an incredible period of time to come into that immediately. It was like 0 to 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow.
There was so much going on at that time. Again, the 4th month, 1988, this is just maybe like less than a year after the brothers and sisters got released out of the jails and the prisons. So the spirit was like
it was real.
Right. I mean, whoo. We had the anti-drug mobile at that particular time, which was a converted bookmobile, DC bookmobile. Now, this was a monstrosity. This was a big, giant, diesel-powered truck, manual transmission, big old.
So it's making all that noise and everything.
With the clutch.
Right.
And Nasik Eliashiv drove it. And we went all over DC with that, on the weekends. It would be Brother Akiba. His name was Jomo at the time.
Okay.
Atur Akiba.
I remember him.
Atur Yakdir, myself. None of us had any type. We were just brothers.
Right.
We didn't have names yet.
Oh, okay.
We didn't even have names yet. And we would go out on the weekends with the anti-drug mobile all around DC. This neighborhood, that neighborhood, this school, that school.
Just doing presentations.
Drugs. One day, this is some time later, we're driving around in the anti-drug mobile, and there was some type of festival taking place on Washington Mall,
okay,
downtown Washington. Now, if you know anything about the mall, it's a big area with the water. Mm-hmm. One end is the Capitol, and the other end is the Washington Monument. We're driving around, anti-drug mobile. No license, no registration, no insurance, questionable tags. Nasik Eliashiv pulls that boy up on the grass of the Washington Monument.
Is that where the term came from, holy bowl?
Yeah, exactly. Pulls it up on the grass. This is years before 9/11. Couldn't do that now.
Right. Man, it would have been SWAT.
So we pulled that bad boy up on the grass. And I tell you, we were the distance from where we're sitting right here to your front door, to the Washington Monument.
Y'all were right up on.
Right there where the flags that were right. We were right there. These park police come over. Well, what's this? And Eliashiv gets into his spiel. This is the such and such, this anti-drug mobile, with the divine universal brotherhood.
He's just running it. He's running it.
Now, he had those guys so enamored that, can we come on board and see? The park police came on and
dude, we had no registration. Dude, we ain't even supposed to be driving.
They don't know none of. They're totally distracted from all of that. So they coming through the anti-drug. Okay, this is the effects of cocaine in the blood system, and we had the little displays inside, and they were like, wow, And at the end, you come in the front door, you go out the back door.
Oh, okay.
No hassle, no questions, no ticket, no nothing. Now, mind you, this act of audacity was repeated several times.
Regularly.
Right. We would go into copy centers, Kinko's, it was always documents that had to be copied and sent up high or sent here.
Right.
Some official documentation or, transcripts of Abba's, books that he
Right.
was writing at that particular time. And it would be nothing. 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30 at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, to jump in the vehicle, go to Georgetown or go to, there's an area in D.C. called Brooklands. There was a Kinko's there, and there was also a Kinko's in Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
We would go up in there 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there would always be somebody, one person on duty. And it would mostly be a brother.
Mm-hmm.
We would go up in there, hey, man, we got to make 500 copies, man. And he would say, 500 copies? Yeah, that's going to, got the little ad.
Right.
That's going to be about $76. We don't have any money, but we got a vegan meal. And the guy would go like, vegan? So he would look back and he'd peel that plastic off.
And that smell we hit you in the face.
And again, it was that classic meal.
The macaroni and
Mac and
cheese,
cheese.
the greens, and he thinking that's some rib tips there. Some barbecue kettle.
Oh, man. And he was, y'all,
Go ahead.
whatever, go ahead. And he'd be in there munching, and we'd be in there copying, chunking, using up all manner of paper and ink. And we would come out of there with how typing paper comes in the bottom out there with documents,
Right.
throw them in the trunk and like that. And, okay, we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, man, cool, man. Bring another
Bring another dinner.
bring another dinner, right? So that was another act of boldness that I appreciated from the brothers and sisters at that particular time, and I was so blessed to witness that, to be a part of that. It was a wonderful time to be initiated into the kingdom like that.
When the energy and the spirit was really high.
Airport runs, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, to pick somebody up or to drop somebody off.
And you still had a day job.
Oh yeah, I had to be at work at 8, and I'm hanging out 11:30, 12, 1, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got to be at work at 8, all the way around the Beltway in Springfield.
Mm.
So I was in the jurisdiction for 4 years before I came home. On my day job out there, I already explained how I was listening to WPFW and Elrod's program, Small Talk. How I came home, very, 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 very interesting. I'm at work one day, and because I'm hanging out late at night,
You tired?
I'm tired. So I'm at
Nod.
work, I'm nodding, and I fall asleep at the art table. My supervisor, Mark Hoffman, I'll never forget his name, Mark Hoffman. He comes up and he says, aha, I caught you. Caught me sleeping on the job. I was startled, He said, we're going to have to let you go.
Oh my goodness. That was the first.
Yeah. Now, mind you, I forgot. I got to tell this story.
Go, hey, this is your story. Tell your story.
My goodness. I'm a Hebrew Israelite now. I need a garment. So there was a sister named Nathania. She sold me my first garment with the fringes
And cords
of
blue.
This was her. She was learning how to sew, and this was my first garment. So naturally, when I got it, it's like this. One sleeve is like this, the other sleeve is like that, She learned how to sew. But I was so proud of that garment. It was my first kingdom garment. And I wore it. I wore it when we went on the anti-drug mobile. I wore it when we went bowling. I wore it.
You wore it every time you could put it on.
Right. I had a little key pot too. Why in the world did I wear it to work?
I was getting ready to ask you, did you wear it to work?
Now, mind you, I'm in Springfield. Springfield is Harley Davidson pickup truck with the gun racks in the back, redneck, Virginia.
And you wore your...
There's 2 black people at work, and I'm one of them. Why did I wear my dashiki to work with my kippah?
Oh my God.
Why did I do that?
Because you wanted to get
'Cause
fired.
I was
In
so,
your soul,
hey,
you
man.
wanted to get fired.
I wore that one day to work.
Did they say anything to you?
No, not immediately. Here's what happened though. Because I'm in the kingdom, it's because it's a printing place. There were certain things that Nasik needed. You know, there was a book that was published at that time by a guy named Francis Fukuyama called what was something like that, The End of the World, or the End of something like that. It was one of those titles like that. And Nasik Emmanuel, not Nasik at that time, but,
Right.
you know, he needed this book. He needed it. And this is how Yah works. Francis Fukuyama, the book was top of the New York bestseller list. And it was chronicalizing the different things that were taking place in the world at that time, which would cause a disruption in what we knew as normal.
Right.
Nasik had to have that book. So he's looking, he can't find it. We printed the book at the place where I worked.
Oh, wow.
I knew Nasik was looking for it. And one day I'm at work and he said, my Jake name, hey, this new book, this is what we just published, because they were proud that they published this book.
Right.
They weren't giving it to me to read or anything. They gave it to me as an example of the quality of work that they did. So they put the book on my desk, and I come in, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is the book that Nasik Emmanuel wants, by Francis Fukuyama. I couldn't believe it. Because we had just been talking about he couldn't get his hands on this book for some reason. And I had it in my possession. That was real, that was shocking to me. So, you know, when I got back to the MOI that evening, I gave it to him. He said, where'd you get this from? I said, we published it. He was like, it was a gift from Yah. It was amazing. It was amazing. But these type of things, pulling up on the mall, all these are the type of things that were happening on a regular basis.
Right.
One day, again, I'm so proud of that garment. I wore it to work. Now, they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything at all. But I could feel it. It was thick. Because what does that garment represent to that type of people?
Right.
It represents revolution, dissension, rebellion. Within 2 weeks, I was fired. Wearing that garment, within 2 weeks, and the fact that I fell asleep.
Right. They were looking for a reason.
They were looking for a reason. Now, between the time I wore the garment at work and the time I fell asleep, they were looking for a reason.
Right.
And when I fell asleep, that was the reason.
Yeah.
I got fired. Now check this out. They told me to report to Human Resources, H&R. I went down there and they gave me a significant, generous severance check. $4,800.
And that was a lot of money back then.
$4,800 for one check, and the other check was $1,200. They wrote me two checks. One was $4,800, the other check was for $1,200. $4,800.
So you had $6,000.
Yep. What did I do? 1992. It was 1992. The International Universal Brotherhood in Jerusalem was taking place that year in the 8th month. I took that money.
You got fired in what month?
I got fired in the 7th month.
Right on time.
I took that money. I told, I was in the Nation House. I moved in the Nation House in 1990. Mm-hmm. I came in 1988. I moved in the Nation House 2 years later. And then 2 years after that, I got fired. Mm-hmm. 7th month, 1992. I was advised to take that money and buy an airline ticket. Some of the money, I bought the airline ticket, went to the travel agency, bought the airline ticket. Some of the money, we freshened up the Nation House, got carpet on the floor, new furniture,
Right.
from IKEA.
Right.
All those people that sell furniture on the corners.
Right.
back then. So we freshened up the Nation House. I bought my airline ticket, and I was only supposed to come home for 1 month for the Divine Universal Brotherhood Conference in Jerusalem, and then I was going to go back to D.C. So I got at that particular time, the conference was like in the last part of the 8th month, 25th, 26th, something. We're going to go back to my mom. Because of my father's revolutionary spirit, he totally understood the direction I decided to become a Hebrew Israelite.
But he wasn't interested.
No, he wasn't interested. But he understood, he didn't have a problem.
Okay.
Mother was a little, upset because, again, she wanted the grandchildren and the house with the little picket fence and the little dog and wife and that type of. She wanted that for me.
Right.
And
she wanted you close by.
And she saw,
right.
I started going in a whole nother direction.
She was losing her baby.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Mothers, we don't like that.
Right. Like that. I got to Israel on the 2nd of the 8th month, 1992. 2nd of the 8th month, 1992. I arrived at Ben Gurion, and they just told me to look for a brother. So I got to the airport. I got my luggage. I'm looking. Who do I see? Akovadia, Sweet Daddy.
Sweet Daddy.
Sweet Daddy picked me up from the airport. I saw that hoary head.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wait a minute.
And it wasn't like you was going to see no whole lot of brothers. So they
no.
could say look for a brother because they knew it wasn't going to be but one
Right.
up there.
So he picked me up from the airport. He said, he knew who I was. I didn't know who he was, but I already knew he's the only brother that I see.
Right.
So when we locked eyes, and he could only come for so far.
Right.
And this has been Ben Gurion before they fixed it up.
Before they renovated.
It was another kind of way back then.
A barn.
Yeah, basically. So I locked eyes with him. I said, that's got to be him. So he locked eyes with me. I locked eyes with him. And he's way,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, such and such and such. I said, yep, that's me. So we got into, at that particular time, he was driving the camper van.
Okay.
It was an old Dodge tradesman van that we had. Looked like one of those hippie vans, with the little mirror on the side, glass on the side. Had the little mag wheels and stuff. It's a nice looking vehicle. Aki Keskiel and Akshafatia were inside. He had just picked them up from work.
Oh, okay.
And swung around Ben Gurion to get me. And then immediately we went to the factory in Yehud.
Oh, okay.
So that's when I saw Oxadiq. They were making tofu.
Mm-hmm.
I sasaw Oxadiq.
Kohen Kamliel, was he there?
Right.
Was Atur Elzariz still up there?
Yes. Atur Yagdia.
Was Dora Kokovati?
Yep. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the house in Yehud also.
Yeah, right.
Man, those couches were leather. Soft. I don't know if it was leather, but those couches were fantastic. Anyway, took me by the factory. They were making the candies, and they had the tofu and the this and all that kind of stuff going on. I had a brief tour. Then from the factory, went to the Yehud Bayit to chill out for maybe about 45 minutes, and then the ride home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, this is back in those days. The roads aren't like they are today.
Oh, nothing like they are today.
2 lanes.
2 lanes, no street lights.
I mean, it took an hour to get to Beersheba. From Dimona to get to Beersheba was an hour back in the day. Because you got 2 lanes, and don't get behind a slow-moving Said.
Yeah.
Whew.
You gonna be another hour.
Yeah. So anyway, it took forever to get to the kafar. I didn't pull into the kafar until about 11:30 that night, and they immediately placed me in the large room in the guest house. On the kafar.
Okay.
So this is the second day, 1992. Again, using the money from my fired job to get home.
Right.
Because I was supposed to go back, I didn't close anything out.
Oh, wow.
So I still had, I was living in, I had my own place.
Oh, okay.
I was living in a nation house.
But you also had your own
I had
place.
my own place. It was a condo in the Southeast.
So you were paying rent in 2 places.
Exactly. But I was making good money as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could afford it. But I didn't close anything out. I didn't close anything. I didn't say goodbye to friends or anything. I didn't close anything out. It was like...
You were going back.
It was like I was going back. So, after the jet lag wore off the next day, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning. Woman of valor, Doria, she's cleaning the guest house. Mm-hmm. I stick my head out. She said, "Oh, you must be that brother." I said, "Mm-hmm."
"Oh, that sounds like Doria."
Yeah, that's her. That's her. And I introduced myself, and then I decided to take a walk around the kafar. Mm-hmm. And after about 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most, I said, I could do this. I said, I could do this.
Okay.
This is exactly where I need to be.
Okay.
I mean, so that same time as I was walking around, I made it to the art shop. And Saba Yaakov. Now, just like when I went down to the MOI back in 1988, Saba Yaakov, this is 1992, Saba Yaakov is working on a project.
Probably for the conference. Oh, for Abba Shia.
Yeah, probably for the conference. Mm-hmm. And I walk into the art shop. There's dust everywhere, and spider webs, markers and paper and stuff, because the art shop at that time was shared with Kohen Halaliel, who ground. He
was doing his shoes,
right?
The echoes,
exactly. So it was dust all over the place. And it was drafty and all like that. And it's hot summertime, so it felt pretty good up in there. I walk in, and he's sitting down at his easel with the big artwork, working on stuff. I introduced myself, and I said, "Hey, I do this kind of work." Again, just like with the artist.
Sit down.
It's incredible. He got up. He said, "I need you to help me out with this banner." So, the banner is like...
Right, from there to over. I know. Those huge banners y'all used to do.
And I started drawing and painting and all that. And it was, boom, immediate. All of those big murals that we used to see on the stage for New World.
Right.
That started with Saba Yaakov. Once Saba Yaakov moved to Tiberias, all of that. Once Saba Yaakov moved to Tiberias, all of that
became your responsibility.
So every day once I woke up, that was I made a beeline. They served me breakfast at the guest house, but I made a beeline to the art shop every day to work with Saba Yaakov. Amazing, prolific artist. I mean, he had all of his artwork lined up in there, framed. It was leaning up against,
right.
And he had so many pieces. I still have a classic piece right now hanging up in my room. But he had so much artwork. And it was a pleasure to go over there and work with him, because he is the one who, unbeknownst to him and me, he's the one who solidified my stay here. Because I began to help him out, word got back to Nasik Shaliat and Abba Gadol that there's another artist.
Right.
Saba Yaakov, I didn't know at the time, but Saba Yaakov was planning to go to Tiberias to relocate, which he did.
Which he did. Yes,
He
did.
relocated about 2 months after I had been home.
Wow. So that solidified it right there. You wasn't going nowhere.
And mind you, I was only supposed to be here for a month.
Right.
In less than a month. Oh, there's so many twists and turns in this. You mind if I go off on another branch?
Hey, go right ahead. I'm enjoying this. Go right ahead.
I'm home for about 2 days. They said, okay, you have to pick up your Echo shoes for the conference. It's at the boutique. The boutique. Over by the art shop. Oh, okay. I know where the boutique is. So I go to pick up my Echo shoes because all the brothers had matching Echoes that year for the conference.
Okay.
I walk in, and there is a sister behind the counter. She smiles, and I say, I'm here to pick up my Echo shoes that I pre-ordered. I'm from Washington, D.C. My name is Elzariz, and so she got up, she went to the the shelves, and had all these Echo shoes lined up with a slip of paper with the brothers' names in them. She went through and said, Elzariz, okay, these are your Echo shoes. So we got to small talking. She said, your new brother, you just came in for the conference? I said, yep. We started chatting. We talked for about 10, 15 minutes. That was Raphael. We talked for about 10, 15 minutes. You know, she smiled, and she was real open and communicative.
Right.
And I was new home, so I said, hey, I'm from D.C., blah, 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 blah. We got to talking. And, we got a kind of it was almost instant, not quite, but almost instant, thing going on now like that.
Like a vibe.
Yeah, it was a vibe. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like a vibe.
So every morning what I would do, before I went to the art shop, I would stop by the boutique.
Chit-chat.
Talk. Right. Talk for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then I would go right next door to the art shop and start assisting Saba Yaakov. Okay, so my morning talks with Raphaela started to expand. We started to be seen together. She started bringing me food, and one thing after another, we became pursuing.
Right.
And it was like that.
Man, she jumped on you. No sister had a chance. Nobody got a chance. 2 days in, she was on it.
2 days in. She and we had a mutual friend, Naomi. Naomi came late. She said, Elzariz, I have a sister I want to introduce you to. And I already know her.
You late.
But it was that particular day. This is maybe about a week or two after we had begun talking that we found out that we shared so much in common. We have the same birthday.
Yeah, that's right, y'all do.
There's so many similarities. I could go into it, but
So you all could talk forever. There were a ton of things you could talk about because there's so much interest.
Exactly. The thing that sold me on Raphaela was the fact that she had a subscription to National Geographic's magazine. National Geographic. Now, I had a subscription to National Geographic's magazine back in the States.
Yeah.
And my parents had a subscription to National Geographic's. So when I saw that she had a subscription to National Geographic's, I knew right away that she was the type of sister who, if she had a subscription to National Geographic's, we have something in common.
Right.
And that was it. it never ended.
Right.
It's still ongoing
Right.
to this day.
Wonderful. How many years has it been there?
It'll be 31 years this year.
Wow.
Now,
August the 2nd?
August the 2nd.
That's y'all's anniversary.
I came home August the 2nd, 1992. August the 2nd, 1994, 2 years to the day, up on the hill above Zinman. Akbar. We were married.
That was before Akbar was built.
Right. They didn't have the high school then.
Right.
It was just the
elementary
right.
school.
And it was freshly built. 2 years to the day, we were married. And again, it'll be 31 years this year.
Wow.
So, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Now, we're walking, we're talking, we're seeing, one day we're playing Scrabble in the garden, the little bench in front of the, near the rock.
Right.
It's at night, but there's a light there. We can see. We're playing Scrabble on the bench. And security walks over. It says, we found out later on that Abba Gadol wanted to know, who is that brother? Who are those two out there?
Right.
Who are those two? So they took the report back. That's Raphael and Elzariz. And what I learned later is security that came over to find out who we were and took the word back to Abba smiled. Okay, now I'm going to fast forward for just a little bit. Now that was we're talking the 8th month. By the time the conference came around at the end of the 8th month, Raphael and I are like this.
Right. Inseparable.
Right. We are walking across the King's Court one day. We're over there by the building maintenance meat lot. And we're talking. We're standing there. Something's going on. I don't remember exactly what it was. But Uriel comes around the corner from the rock, down by the horseshoe, down to the King's Court, by the building maintenance.
Right.
And he says, now see, Shaliach says, you can stay. That's all he said. And he smiled. Man, Raphael lit up. I lit up. And that's the way it's been ever since. Now, I've been going in and out of the country. That's a whole nother story.
Oh, wow.
This might have to be a part two, because now we're talking about the ministry of interior. Okay, now, Raphael and I, we got married. 2 years to the day. We moved up to Akidon's by it.
You all lived at Akidon?
Yes,
Okay.
That's where we were first placed when we got married. And things went on. I'm going to skip some years because after that, it's just family life.
Yeah.
All the things you got to shop, you got to do this, you got to do that. Okay. I don't have my musical instrument. All my stuff is in Babylon. I didn't close anything out.
So what happened with all of that wasn't closed out? Did somebody take care of it for you?
No. The condo got, was it closed out, repossessed, whatever they call it?
Well,
foreclosed.
Well, foreclosed if you were paying a mortgage.
Yeah, I was paying a mortgage.
Oh, okay.
Got
foreclosed.
Yeah. I had cars.
They got repossessed.
Well, no, because they were paid for. But I left them for people to sell. One of the cars I left for Uriel to sell. He sold it, but I never got it. Didn't have any winter clothes. Another thing that solidified my stay here is when Atur Shmuel came to me one evening and said, you'll be pulling Beta Cone in a week. I said, Beta Cone? Great. I said, what is it? He explained.
Yeah, okay.
It was Abba Gadol's birthday. Abba Gadol's birthday was the first night I pulled Beta Cone, 1992. What was that, the 16th of the...
October?
Right, 16th of the 10th month.
Of the 10th month.
That was my first night pulling bitachon. Now I'm out there in a shirt. It's getting chilly. I don't have any winter clothes because I wasn't supposed
To stay.
I was only supposed to be here for a month. And I had on socks for mittens. The temperature's dropping. I had on 2 and 3 shirts. I had a towel wrapped around my neck. And so I told Uriel, because he's still over in the States at this time.
Right.
I said, hey, man, I got a winter coat over there. I got winter clothes. I got this and that, because all my stuff was in the Nation House.
Right. The clothes.
The warm stuff. I said, man, send that stuff in, man. So he said he would. After about 2 weeks or so, a suitcase came, and none of the stuff I asked for was in it. None of it. Was a coat that was too short. I had a Sherlock Holmes maxi coat all the way down to here. That was thick wool. That would have been perfect. I was saying I could put fringes on that. It would be the bomb. Never came. None of my clothes came. Maybe 1 or 2 pairs of pants or something like that. But none of the stuff that he sent
that
home.
you really needed.
Right. So I laughed it off. Rafaela was hot, but I laughed it off. And so these are the challenges.
Right.
I lived in the art shop for from the time when I came on. I was in the guest house, but had to move out of the guest house because guests were coming.
Because guests were coming,
So
and your guest status had worn off.
So I had to
you
find
didn't
a
go
place.
back.
Now, mind you, I didn't at that point. It's just me. I didn't want to impose myself on another buyer, because now they got to feed me. They got to do this. They got to make room. And room was at a premium at those, because everybody was still living on the kafar.
Yeah, that's when we were all
22 souls, 23 souls, 24 souls in each buyer. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want it to be a burden.
Right.
I said, man, I could
stay over.
I could stay in the art shop. Mm-hmm. Sabi Yaakov had moved to Tiberias.
Right. So you had the place.
I was in this part. Aliel was in that part. Moshe was in that part. Mm-hmm. And the boutique was annexed next door. So I was cool. I was good. I stayed in the art shop. I was in the art shop for about 2 years until I got married.
Right.
And then
moved up down.
Right. I stayed at Kohen Halaliel's by the winter of '92.
Because it was just too cold to stay in the art.
Right. Catriel, what's his name? Kazakia's band.
What is
Yimuel.
Yimuel, yeah.
Yimuel and Yetidiel, which is Milila's son. They were in the big room.
Okay.
And they put me in there with them.
Mm-hmm.
I was responsible for purchasing Neft for the Neft heater. And I tell you.
But you didn't even have a job, did you?
No. These are the challenges. These are the challenges of a new brother coming home.
Right.
I had to hustle. Beat the cone, hustle artwork. Those were the ways I made money. Because you saw those banners and posters I used to put in the square with the little all that was done by hand.
Right.
And I did that for years. And that's how I made my money. Now, I didn't have my instrument. Nasik Emmanuel comes home for Old World the following year, 93. He brings my guitar.
Oh, that was nice of him.
He sees me and he says, Elzariz, I got a package for you. It's at the phone by it. I said, man, I run over to the phone by it. And there's my guitar case sitting up in there. I said, oh, it's on now. Took it, went over to the art shop, and I had a fold-up bed. I put it under the bed and put the top down. And I'd be in there at night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning. No amp, just in there strumming an electric guitar with no sound. Somehow, Imar Shavakia, Skanit Shavakia, found out that I was a guitar player. Now, mind you, this is the winter. Now we're in '93. Found out I was a guitar player. She had originally wanted Atur Godel to go on this show, but Atur Godel was already booked up at that time. So she approached me and said, would I mind playing behind her and her group, which was Nava, Kitana, Devora, Kaya. I said, yeah. Okay, rehearsal start in the Moralite, blah, blah, blah. So I'm down in the Moralite learning these songs. And I'm like, it was new to me because I played by ear. I didn't read charts at that time. Atur Godel told me how to read charts.
Okay.
He taught me how to A flat, B minor, da-da-da. Now, I don't read the notes, but I can read the charts.
Right.
And he taught me that. And I hunkered down. Shmael always, Man of Valor Shmael always took good chart notes. And I would look at his notes and I would copy, So this is how this song goes. I got a song book of nothing but guitar chart notes, this thick at the back, that I accumulated over the years. And so I went on that first show with Skanit Shavakia, and they were satisfied with my level of playing. So I was in her group. The very next week, after coming back from that show, Ima Elisheva approached me and said, hey, I heard you play guitar. Can you go on a show with me? I said, yeah. So rehearsals with Ima Elisheva, which is Elisheva, Nava, the same crew.
Same crew, same background singers.
So that solidified myself, musically in the kafar.
And which was another source of income.
Right. And I would go on shows maybe every 2 or 3 months I would go on a show or two.
Okay.
And I would get that pay and I would immediately take that pay and go to the Nation store and buy what my family needed. Because, I got Zayton, Atidia, Minwaka,
right,
and Rafaela.
Right.
An immediate, instant family.
Right.
Right. And I had to be responsible. So hustling art, hustling beat the cone, an occasional show, and working on the railroad with Queen Alaliel. That was a big help.
Right, but you didn't have status, right?
None. There's so many different stories. I mean, each one of these branches, I could talk for hours.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any status. I would work on the railroad with Queen Alaliel during the day. Sometimes I would have a show in the evening. And in between all of that, I'm still working in the art shop, doing banners and posters.
So you were up half night.
And Nasi Shaliak would send for me, especially getting close to New World. He would pull me into his chambers, and he would spell out to me what he wanted.
Precisely what he wanted.
Precisely what he wanted. He would have it written down, because at that particular time he was,
Right.
So he would have somebody write it out, exactly what he wanted. And before I did it, he wanted me to do a mini dugma. So I would be doing a little mini dugma. And I'm like, this is, okay, I had to get the materials, I had to buy the paint, I had to get the markers, no status. But he had a budget. Nashi Shaliak had a budget. He would give me that envelope, and I would take that envelope, go to the Americas, buy my paint, buy this, go to the industrial area and buy the boards and all like that. And it was an absolute incredible string of years that went on. Up until the point where we got smart and started doing it digitally.
Right.
With the machine that Moshe has.
Right.
And also we have connections in Beersheba where, we get the large stuff done. But prior to that, it was all done by hand.
Wow.
Each and every holy day got 2 banners.
Right.
Old World, New World, Shavuot. Didn't matter. I mean, the priest, okay, we need a banner for this. We need a banner for that.
Brothers Day, Sisters Day,
all of
Day,
that.
Youth Week. Holy Jerusalem Writers Conference. Yeah, I know that was a lot of work for that.
I look back sometimes on those periods and say, how in the world did I get all of that done.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I got it done, and it was my responsibility to hang it up and take it down once it was finished. So this went on for years and years and years and years. And I no longer had access to the art shop because the Signon expanded.
Right.
Signon closed out wherever they were in Tel Aviv somewhere.
No, Signon was out in the industrial area for years. Remember?
Exactly. Yeah, I remember it right. And then it came
And they
to
moved
the
to the
Kafar.
Kafar.
And once they moved to the Kafar, the art shop kind of got real small.
Right.
So Aliel took the majority, took that space.
That little space that he had.
And I started doing the artwork in my backyard. So, and that was good because, you know, I had everything right there to buy it.
Right.
In the backyard, I had my table and my boards and all that kind of stuff. But I look back on the volume of work that was done from 1992 up until about 2007, 2008. Whew, incredible. Wow. I'm talking about those big murals the size of this wall.
I know what they look like. I've seen plenty of them.
And all of that I did by hand. Wow. Now, I'm not boasting. I'm just saying.
I mean, hey, you did it. You know, right. You take credit for it.
Mm-hmm. So that's basically up until
you went to Tevadeli.
I went to Tevadeli. I went out on the. Now I'm doing artwork, but I'm still a musician now.
Right.
Went out on the several shows all through. I've been from Eilat, all the Afula, all the way up to the Golan.
Right.
You know, for years and years and years and years, and that was quite an experience. That's the musical side of it.
Right.
And I could talk for hours on that, but I'm gonna keep it short. Went out on the Adaya tour.
Okay.
In 2004.
Okay.
And that's where the drama with the Ministry of Interior started. That's
wow. So they snapped. They didn't throw you in jail?
No. They told me you can never come back to Israel. But here's the deal. Because I went out in 2004, when I came back, I got a 3-month visa. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that 3 months, you can apply for an extension.
Right.
So
for
man, I was the extension king. Mm-hmm. I've extended as much as 3 times, believe it or not.
Before they wouldn't extend it anymore.
Right. I got 3 months. I went to the ministry and got to go through all that hassle, right. all the questions,
right.
You don't know if you're going to get an extension or not. Sometimes I did get an extension. Sometimes I didn't. I was in and out of the country.
Wow.
Sometimes I'd be gone as few as a month and a half, and sometimes I'd be out there for 10, 11, 12 months, working either in Chicago, D.C., or Atlanta, in and out of the country. And that's another story right there, too, because that's the story of working in the jurisdiction.
In the jurisdiction.
But I'm not gonna get into that because that's
yeah.
I'd be here for
till tomorrow, huh?
Right. But I've been blessed. I was battling with the ministry, and finally got my permanent residency in 2021.
Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. That was the same year the other folks got deportation letters. So that was a blessing. Hallelujah, you finally were able to close that out.
Yeah.
Well, you have had a very interesting story.
I could go on and on.
I know that you could. Yeah. I know. I'm perfectly clear. And I appreciate you for sharing what you have. What I'm going to do now is my little trivia thing that I have.
Already?
Okay. These little trivia cards that I made. They're not artistic like your stuff. I am not a graphic artist. But it's 4 different categories. Mm-hmm. Fill in the blanks. Some of your favorite things, your personal thoughts, or were you there for a specific event? So I'll lay them out, pick a couple,
Okay.
hand it to me, I'll read it, and then we'll see if it's something that we're going to talk about or something that, if it doesn't resonate with you and you want to throw it back, we can get something else. So you can pick whatever color you want, whichever one you want.
All right. Let's go with this one right here. Let's go with that.
Okay. So this is a were you there? Were you there for the opening of Beit Sefer Akva?
Yes.
You were.
Yes.
What was that experience like?
Ooh wee. First of all,
Did you have to make banners for it?
No. It was wonderful. I was in the kafah at that time when I saw the brothers, Yehuda and all the brothers. They were building Beit Sefer Akva.
Oh,
They were helping build.
They were helping with the building.
The opening, there was a ribbon cutting, and Abba Gadol was there. Who was the official from?
It was some official from the U.S.
Yeah. And who? I was out there. It was during the day. Didn't they bury something in the ground, like a little time capsule or something?
I don't
like that?
recall. I remember taking off work and coming, but I don't remember details of it.
Yeah, but yeah, I was there for the opening of Abba Gadol cut the ribbon, and I was there for the opening.
The Shagrir was there too.
I don't.
And
yeah.
some it was some politician from congressman or somebody from the U.S. or somebody from
Probably
somebody
Ron
from the
Dellums
U.S.
or somebody like
Somebody
that.
that he knew.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, you want to pick another one?
All right. Let's go with this orange one here.
Okay, so orange one is fill in the blank. I had this one the other day. Name of the grandmother that had the first spaghetti shop on the kafar.
Ooh, the first spaghetti shop on the kafar. Was that Eli Eats? Ima?
Yes, Imam Mir.
Right, Ima Amir.
Yep. Remember, Aviad used to be over there
Yeah.
making spaghetti.
Remember that.
Okay.
Leaving the lights on as I was coming through, pulling beat the car.
And the light on.
Lights would be on in the night. Yeah, over at
Okay.
the spaghetti shop.
Okay, you pick one or two
Okay,
more.
let's go with a yellow one this time.
Do our closeout.
Let's go with this
A
one.
yellow one or favorites. Your favorite type of TV show or movie?
I like documentaries.
You do?
That's what I really like.
Okay.
I don't watch TV. I don't watch television. When television, before the advent of social media, television program I would watch would probably be Here in the Kafar. It's just in general. Here in the Kafar, television program.
I mean, if you don't, you don't. It's
No,
Okay,
I was mostly
your
into
preference is
documentaries.
document.
Now I do have a movie that I like,
What's-
Tombstone. But no, I'm not real big on television.
Okay.
But I do like documentaries.
okay. All right, one more.
Okay, let's go with a dark green one.
Dark green.
Let's go with this one right here.
Okay, this one right here. So this dark green is your personal thoughts on all things in common / communal living.
Ooh wee, it needs improvement.
Okay.
In theory and on paper, it works. I have seen a level of sharing here that I have never seen before.
Okay.
In terms of irons and washing machines and meals, appliances, that portion of it works.
Okay.
Areas of improvement. I know that the support of this nation financially to the Aguda office needs much improvement.
Okay.
Because again, there's only a handful of brothers and sisters who are
Paying into it at this.
exactly. Mm-hmm. And I hope I'm not too far away from the mic.
You want that one pushed out there really good.
Right.
Okay, well, Toda for sharing those. So pretty much the last two sections, one is our youth and the other is closing comments. So for our youth, I'd like to ask the question, how do you envision our youth in regard to them continuing what we spent many years of our lives building and being a part of? What advice would you give them?
They need to realize the dangers of this piece right here. This needs to be drilled into their heads. But the parents, if the parents are addicted to this, then the children are going to be. But this piece right here, this tears communities apart. This thing right here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to put that genie back in the bottle.
The genie is never going back.
It ain't going back in the bottle.
So it has to be, like you say, the teaching is going to be paramount.
And either they're going to adhere to it or not. They're going to be those that will and those that don't. But again, this is very addictive, and it causes behavioral changes.
Yeah.
Socially.
I mean, they have all of the scientific and medical evidence to prove it. You know, I remember when Abba Yasutsky used to call them little devils.
Yeah, pocket devils.
And pocket devils.
Yeah.
You know. And, you know, I mean, even back then when he was calling them pocket devils, I'm like, I'm getting me a devil. You know,
Right.
Everybody was, you know, about getting a devil.
Right.
But is it the appliance itself, or is it how you use it?
It's how it's
and
used.
that's with everything.
It's how it's
you
used.
food can be the same way.
Right.
You can, you know.
This has saved so much time. This has saved individuals.
Yes.
You get stuck somewhere, stranded somewhere, or you need something, or reach out to somebody. This is almost irreplaceable.
Yeah.
But on the other side,
Yeah. If when you have the proper use of something and the improper use of something, anything.
right,
You know, if there's not a balance.
I have a problem.
Okay. And then, so the last question is, do you have any goals, dreams, visions, etc., that you haven't yet accomplished that you'd like to accomplish?
Absolutely. There's several. I want to continue to concentrate on my health.
Absolutely.
Because that's paramount.
That's paramount.
If I don't
when we
do
get
that
to this
and all that other
age,
stuff, right.
Yeah, we can't do anything else if we don't that.
You know, and I had that situation a couple of years back.
Right,
It
I
was,
remember.
That was
Yeah.
no joke. So that would be paramount, my health, both physically and mentally and spiritually. That's paramount. 2, in terms of my guitar playing, I'm at a point right now where I'm invigorated. I've got several individuals who are inspiring me, and so you'll see some of the posts. I'll start posting.
Okay.
I'll be, in the middle of the night, I'm
Okay.
doing all kinds of.
So now we need a show. We need a show that's just Atur Elzariz.
Now,
And maybe what you could do is just have different singers
Right.
coming
now
on.
you saw me with Margia.
Yes, I did.
Right.
That was a great show.
And
It was a
again,
great show.
I normally I wasn't coming up. I wasn't in tune to playing jazz.
Right.
But because of Shmael,
Right.
Bakuria, and brothers like that, who they really, I've taken another listen to,
Okay.
over the years.
Okay.
And I appreciate it.
Okay.
Wes Montgomery, George Benson, them guys, they got monster chops, monster chops. So health, guitar playing. Now
You no longer do artwork like you used
I don't
to.
do artwork anymore. Not used to, because again, it's very time consuming and draining, because I put my all into it.
Yeah.
And I reached a period, it was around 2002, 2003, where I just didn't have,
Right.
I still have it, but I just wasn't,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had gone into other directions in terms of where I had making decisions where my life was going.
Right. Right.
And then, the eyes,
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm glad I got my 2 books out of you.
Yeah.
Thirdly,
really taking a realistic look at where Israel is going to be in the next 5 years.
then next week.
Right. In terms of, socially, politically, and how it affects us.
Yeah, security-wise, all of that.
how it affects us, and the conversations we need to start having.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about this and that, but our conversations and our mode of preparedness needs to be somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah. I agree.
again, I'm not talking about running to the mountains and stuff like that, but I'm just talking about what we should be focusing on, because we're maturing, and in terms of housing,
security, sustainability, all of that, survival.
all of that.
Those are very real topics that, you're Crown Brothers. So.
Right. And that's the conversation we need. That's the direction we really need to start going into.
That is, as well as some other conversations, which I'll share more off camera. But
we need to, there's another level of focus that we need to put our attention to in this season and beyond.
In this season so that there will be a beyond.
Yes, so it'll be a beyond.
Well,
and I think that's basically it. There's other things I could discuss, but let's just leave it at that. Hallelujah.
Well, Toda, I do appreciate you, Toda Rabbah. And as we close out, any last comments before we close out?
When you first initiated this, I first became aware of these interviews. It warmed me inside, because again, it gives us a chance to really know each other, or each of us could write a book.
Each of us could write a book.
Several volumes. And I'm one of the brothers. I'm not an out front brother. I'm a behind the scenes type of steamroom.
Right.
If I'm invisible, that's good. But this gives individuals an opportunity to get a little bit, get to know me a little bit, and what motivates me, what inspires me.
Who is Atur Elzariz?
Right.
And it's just, to me, it's significant that, and all of us are a part of this puzzle. And if there's a piece, I always say, if there's a piece of puzzle that's missing, the whole picture is not complete.
Right.
If you watch a movie, at the end of the movie, after everybody sees the names of the actors, but there are literally hundreds of individuals that made that movie possible.
Exactly.
We are the hundreds of individuals that have made this kingdom possible. And so our stories need to be told. Our children, our grandchildren need to know. And just like you used to do all of the artwork by hand, and then you found out, we can use the printer and do thus, and so. I've written books before, and that is a very long process.
Yes.
Very tedious process. We have access to this technology. Why not use it to the positive?
Right.
To our advantage. So
I really appreciate what you've initiated here. And like I said, when I first heard you started doing it, man, I was like, yes. Yes. It gives us a chance to hear and be a part of what we have to share.
Right. And some stories, unfortunately, are not going to be as pleasant. But they still have to be told. It's all a part of our journey. So to the listening audience, Toda Rabbah for tuning in to Atur Elzariz. When you all see him, ask him to tell you a joke. Or you might get on our Facebook group for the King Lord.
That's my alter ego. What that does, that's a pressure valve.
Right.
When I post something corny like that, that's a pressure valve.
Right.
That's, and it's mostly done at night.
Right.
In the wee hours of the morning.
Right.
And I said, let me, they're going, but it gives me satisfaction that, others find it humorous.
Yes. And laughter is a major aspect of self-care and mental health.
Exactly.
You have to be able to laugh, so I enjoy it and I appreciate it. Toda.
Hallelujah.
All right.
Toda. So we can close out. I can lower that.
Okay, you can.
Okay.
By all means.
Now let's talk about Yahweh Sefatai, the talk of Vigid. Shuvaya, Waravota, Fe Israel. Nihalel Yo.
Hallelujah.
Nihalel Yo.
Hallelujah.
Nihalel Yo.
Hallelujah.
Yochai.
Yahweh.
Yochai.
Yahweh.
Yochai.
Yahweh.
Selah.